The Business Visibility podcast series is brought to you by my strategy sessions. That's 90 minutes of pure focus on the growth of you and your business. Go to angelarasmus.com/strategy for more information. Inspiration, clarity, confidence, and wholehearted business strategy. Welcome to Your Next Chapter, the podcast especially for women in their 40s and beyond who know that business and personal development go hand in hand. Tune in each week for marketing, mindset, and personal growth strategies, along with inspiring stories from women around the world who are creating new businesses and lives that are personally fulfilling and financially rewarding. If you're looking to create a business and life you love, you're in great company. Let's find out what will unfold in your next chapter. I'm your host, Angela Rasmus, and I'm so delighted that you're here. Hey, I've got a free gift for you. It's a wonderful resource I've created that goes along with this podcast series. If you go to angelarasmus.com/visibility, you'll be able to download the workbook, and it helps you create and implement your own visibility plan. I hope you'll find it really helpful. And now, on with the show. And welcome back to another episode of the Your Next Chapter podcast. This is your host, Angela Rasmus, and you've joined us during the Business Visibility series. Now, this is all about developing smart strategies that will raise your brand profile so that you can attract more of those most aligned clients. But as always, with my podcast, I like to dive beneath the surface a little bit and find out some of the previous chapters of our guests. So today we have the fabulous Kate Toon. Now, Kate's an SEO lover, a copywriting mentor, and a speaker and a podcaster and an author, but she's also a hula hooper and many other things as well. I connected with Kate after reading her Confessions of a Misfit Entrepreneur book, which is a book I think every single Next Chapter entrepreneur should be reading. And in fact, we don't always describe ourselves as entrepreneurs. That doesn't fit quite so nicely most of the time. And so perhaps we're small business owners, perhaps we're people with a dream. There's lots of different things that we can be described as, but whoever you are, I guarantee when you read that book, you'll be having fits of giggles, as well as lots of sage advice getting into your head. So, Kate, you're actually here to talk to me today about SEO expertise, but there is so much more to you than that. So thanks so much for joining me.
I'm super excited to be here. And yes, there's more to me than just SEO. I hope there is.
And we were laughing before about a possible visit from your chief CFO, I think you refer to him.
CFO, my chief furry officer. Yes, Pomplamoose. He is my muse, my mentor, my tormentor, everything. He's everything.
Love the descriptions. We'll have to pop a photo of him and you into the show notes.
He'll love that. He's very egotistical.
Fantastic. Well, Kate, as you've said in one of the things that I've read about you, you've really had 2 decades of experience in all things advertising and digital and writing and et cetera, et cetera. But like everyone, you didn't just wake up one morning and we're this fabulous entrepreneur. There's always the backstory, which I love hearing about. And I know some of your backstory involves being a masseuse and working in a florist warehouse and being in an agency and all sorts of other things. So can you talk to us about this pathway that you traveled into your Next Chapter business?
Well, I think, honestly, I never wanted to have my own business. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was quite a scaredy cat, to be honest. Most of my life I've had a proper job. I've worked at advertising agencies pretty much since I left university. And I was just too frightened to take the leap. I have a mortgage to pay. I have things that I need. And also I wasn't sure that I was enough of a self-starter or a self-motivator to kind of run my own thing. And running my own business was almost thrust upon me because I was contracting at an agency for a lovely day rate. And I found myself pregnant, which, I actually know how that happened because I do know where babies come from. But it was still a big surprise. And it meant that I had no maternity leave. I had no savings because I'd been living the life. And so at 5 months pregnant, I had to leave my day job and I had to work it out. And I kind of worked it out along the way, really.
I love that concept of it. So it was thrust upon you, almost like I was an accidental entrepreneur.
Yes, well, I call myself the misfit entrepreneur, but I think accidental would be a really great title as well.
There you go, book number 2.
There you go, yeah.
So I love that idea. So you took the plunge, and one of the things that I've certainly been reading is that you've never had a business plan. Shock, horror. What, you haven't? That's hard to believe. How on earth have you become successful without, a framework, a formula, a plan, the whole bit?
Well, I must admit, I think I downloaded a business plan template from the ATO website, and I just got so depressed looking at it that I immediately put it in my recycle bin. So, look, I just needed to earn money when I started. So when I first started, I set up under the name of KateToon.com, super imaginative. And I just did anything that I could. So I built websites, wrote copy, did design. Now, I'm not a web developer or a designer. But it was whatever I could do. And I kind of felt my way along. What went well, I did more of. What didn't go so well, I did less of. What earned big money, I did more of. What didn't earn much money, I did less of. And, I'm 10 years deep now into this kind of solopreneur lifestyle. My business looks nothing like the business I had when I started. And that's okay. I think if I'd had a plan, I would have probably just ignored it anyway. I think plans can become a bit of a stick to beat yourself with, because it means that you never take the alternate path. You're always like, no, must keep my blinkers on, must stay focused on goals. And then the truth is, in my business, all the exciting things were the things I didn't plan for. All the things that have been super successful were the random, shiny objects that business plans would have told me to ignore. So that's why I don't have a business plan.
I love that concept, that reassurance about the evolution of our businesses. I'm very much the same. The first business that I started was, I have little children. I don't want to go back into corporate land. What can I do? A little bit of a bit of analysis. Okay, what are your skills? What are you interested in? Let's give that a go. There wasn't the long dark night of the soul where I had to work out exactly how it was going to look. I believe that getting into action, like you can't steer a parked car. Like once you're actually moving, you can take some control over the steering wheel and take it where you want it to go. But you've got to start somewhere, start moving.
Well, it's funny. I just did some paddleboarding the other day. Yes. And while I was paddleboarding, the guy said, if you want to turn the paddleboard, you have to actually be going really, really fast to make it turn. If you try and come to a standstill and pivot turn, it's not going to happen. You're going to fall off the board. So momentum is everything. And pivoting when you have a bit of momentum is a lot easier than kind of going, right, I'm going to stop. I'm going to reassess everything. I'm going to close my business down and then I'm going to turn. I think it's better to pivot when you're in motion.
Absolutely. Pivot in motion. There you go. That's going down there as a definite meme. That's a meme.
Paddleboard meme. Yay!
And my daughter will say, Mom, you have no idea. Gives me that look whenever I quote them.
The eye roll.
That's the one. You know it well from your son.
Yes.
So when you started pivoting into the SEO world, I know you started really with the copywriting, but then we moved into, I guess, the copywriting that had the SEO in mind, more of that essence of going there. What drew you into that area? Why was that appealing to you?
Well, when I started out, there's obviously oodles of other copywriters on Google, and I was like, I'm brand new. I'm never going to be able to compete. I already had some SEO backgrounds. I'd worked with big brands like Pedigree Chum and, American Express and people like that. So I wanted to use those skills for myself. And obviously then I realized that a lot of small business owners don't have access to the people that big brands do. So it was definitely a skill that I could pass on. And, I guess the main reason was that as a copywriter, as a service provider, you've only got so many hours in the day. I put my rates up and up and up and up, but you do reach a kind of ceiling. And it's like, this is as much as I can earn in the time that I have. So I really wanted to move away from exchanging my time for money. I wanted to find ways that I could, maximize that, like spend 2 hours doing the same thing, but doing it for 40 people rather than one, and charging 40 people rather than one. And that's where the evolution of courses and workshops came up. And then eventually that's turned into almost 3 businesses now. So I have my copywriting business where I do still do a little bit of one-to-one copywriting. I have a school where I teach other people how to be copywriters. And then I have a whole nother business called The Recipe for SEO Success, where I teach people how to grapple Google, how to get to the top of the rankings, all that. So it's a real beast. It's kind of evolved very slowly into like a monster.
I'm seeing this 3-headed beast burning down the road.
Yes, exactly. And it's hard because sometimes I don't know which one of those mouths to feed or which one to chop off, So it's difficult sometimes.
But that evolution and that, as we were talking about before, that the pivoting whilst in motion has served you really well. And if I can dig down a little now, specifically into the grappling Google, I love the way you described that. So, and I keep saying SEO with this assumption that everyone knows what that means, but there really is. There's an awareness continuum when it comes to this piece of business meeting. So SEO, of course, meaning search engine optimization. And at one end of the continuum, we've got I think I've heard of that, to the other end of the continuum where it's like, well, yes, I totally, grapple and win with Google every day. And most of us sit somewhere in the middle of that continuum. So can you assume that you've got lay people here with just a little bit of knowledge, and just explain to us from a visibility perspective, from that getting yourself in front of the people that you most resonate with, you most want to serve, the ones that what I call a most aligned client. How does getting a handle on SEO help that goal?
Well, I think it's a really great question. I like the way that you phrased that. So, yes, SEO means search engine optimization, but that's kind of a fairly meaningless phrase as well. It's all about connecting with your customers, as you've just said. So if someone is typing in what you do rather than who you are, so you're a window cleaner in Sydney, they're typing that into Google. You want your site to be the first one returned in the Google results, or as close to the top as you can by the time we've got through the ads and all the other stuff. So that's what SEO does. That's what SEO is all about. It's a process of fiddling with your website and doing things elsewhere, whether it be social media, email marketing, networking, all things that build up your brand awareness, build up your association that Google makes with your site and the keywords that you write about. So, the classic thing is, if I want to go and buy a piglet jumper, I go to Google. I'm not going to sit on Instagram hoping a piglet jumper is going to come up. I'm not going to go on Facebook scrolling through videos hoping a video of a jumper wearing piglet will appear. I'm going to go straight to Google. They say something like 80% of all business transactions start with a Google search. Now, even if I know your name or know your brand, I'm highly unlikely to type in www.blablabla.com. I'm just going to type in your business name. I'm just going to type in Angela Respas. I just said your name wrong, I think, there. How do I say it?
There's many versions of my name, so I'm not so nice the way it's pronounced. It's Rasmus. It's like,
I'm going to say repas because it sounds French and very beautiful.
That sounds very exotic.
So, even if I kind of know your business, I'm going to type your name into Google, and you want to be ranking number one for that. So it's what you do, it's who you are. It's just so powerful to be at the top of the rankings. The volume of search and traffic that you're going to get through to your site. And then obviously there's the process of converting that traffic into sales. So SEO is really just, Google has a big long list. It's like a big dating list of 200 or so things that it wants to see from you and your website and your online activity. And SEO is just about ticking off those things on the list.
Wow, 200 items. That's one hell of a shopping list.
It is, but most of the things are common sense. Like, you would know what they are already. Like, my site needs to load really quickly because people don't like hanging around. My site needs to look really good on a mobile, and the buttons need to be big and clickable because it's hard to click buttons with big fat thumbs. My site needs to actually do what it says it does. If I've just clicked through because I want to see a piglet jumper, well, there better be a piglet jumper on the page when I get there. It's things like that, not having pop-ups, blah, 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 blah. Most of the things you'll kind of vaguely already know, but it's just about working through that process and understanding which things are going to have a big impact, which things are going to have a tiny, tiny impact, and then spending your time accordingly, because as business owners, we only have so many hours in the day.
Very, very true. And I love also the fact that, as you've said, that the purpose of SEO is to bring people to the site. It's the traffic to the site. But from there, you've then got to have a good story and a good offer to actually turn that traffic into sales. So having great SEO is not like, well, that's it. I can just sit back here and watch the dollars come rolling in. There's more to it from that afterwards. But what I'm really keen on, I guess, for our audience at the moment is understanding. Let's knock off a few of those 200 items that you've seen for a small business owner are important. And most of the people that are sitting in my audience are service providers, from coaches and consultants and wellness practitioners and people who are doing online services like design and websites, and it's quite broad, but they're mainly in a service capacity as opposed to a product description capacity. So can we have a little bit of let's say 3 or 4 things that you say, here's where to start, ladies and gentlemen?
Okay, most important tip is to make sure that you have a sound website. Now that sounds obvious, but having an SEO friendly website is the very foundation. Basically, if you don't have that, everything else you do will be for naught. So I've had people come on my courses who've been blogging for a year and they're wondering why they're really not getting any traction or traffic. And it's because there's a fundamental flaw in the code of their website. So how do you know if your website is any good? Well, hopefully you've used a reputable SEO developer. There's certain platforms are slightly more SEO friendly than others. WordPress is a really great platform. And then you can use tools like Google Search Console. So if you don't have Google Search Console, Google it right now. It's like the ugly brother of Google Analytics, which you've probably heard of. And Google Search Console, you can actually pop your site into lots of different tools and it will tell you everything that's wrong with your site. And you can fix them. And it's Google telling you what to do. So it's like from the mouth of Google.
Thank you very much, Mr. Google.
Yes, exactly. So technically sound site is the first thing. You need to make sure that it loads quickly. So you want your site to load in less than 5 seconds. And I can pass you a little tool to add to the show notes. It's called Pingdom Site Speed. And you can pop your site in there and see how quickly your site loads. The slower your site is, the lower it will rank. It's that simple. And you can speed your site up by, making your images a bit smaller, maybe not having quite so many plugins and whizzy bits. So that's really important. Speed is a huge factor. The next big factor would be crawlability. Now, Google has little bots that go out on the internet and crawl pages. It wants to see sites that link to other sites, that have links within them, because that's called the interweb. It's meant to be a web. So you need to check for crawl errors. And again, you can use Google Search Console to do that. And then the final important website foundation element is responsiveness. Often we think our site is fine on a mobile, but when was the last time you actually tried to do the thing on the mobile? When was the last time you tried to click through from the search results, look at your service page, go to your contact form and fill that out? Are there any stumbling blocks? Are there any areas where you can't quite read the copy or you can't quite get your thumb over the button? All those things are going to make people bounce out of your site. And if people are bouncing out of your site, if people aren't spending a long time on your site, it's called dwell time. Google doesn't look at bounce rate, but it looks at how long people spend away from the search results. So I just clicked on a Piglet Jumper site or a website designer site. How long do I spend on that site before I come back to the search results and click on something else? Because if it's only a couple of seconds, Google sees that and goes, maybe this isn't a great result. I'm going to push them down the rankings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps that destination isn't quite so lovely after all. If people are leaving it so quickly, it's the same concept as a restaurant, I guess.
Yeah, you've got to make
the menu and leave.
Exactly. You can have a beautiful exterior to that restaurant, but if you go in and the menu isn't what you think it's going to be and the tables are grubby and the glasses are smudgy, you've got to make sure that your website is sticky and engaging and solves customer problems and looks attractive and is easy to use. People talk about SEO as if it's all about ranking. It's all about getting to number 1 spot in Google. No, it's not. That's the first step. It's about the traffic that you get, how long they stay on your site, and what they do on your site. That's what makes the difference.
I love that concept that you were talking about before and this foundation piece about the interwebbing of having people linking in and you linking out and that sort of stuff, so that you're not just sitting there as a little island online.
Yes.
You're holding hands with lots of other destinations online. It's sort of the picture that I've got in my head. It's like an online community.
Well, exactly. I've got such a great analogy. I've used this one before, but I had a client that built this beautiful website, and my analogy was it was like a beautiful island resort, and then they kept on adding to it. They're adding blog posts or all these things. You imagine the island resort added a swimming pool and then it added a disco and a restaurant. But the problem was there was no links to that website on the internet. So it was like having this beautiful island resort with no ferry service and no airport. No one's going to find it. And when people come on my courses and they're like, no one's coming to my site. And I'm like, well, you've only got one link to your site that exists on the internet, and that's from your Facebook page. That one doesn't even count, dude. Do you know what I mean? It is about community. It's about doing things like this, like reaching out to other people, building connections and relationships so that people recommend your content and share it and link to it. That's what it's all about.
I love that idea. It's got no server, no ferry service, and no airport.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning right at the beginning that there was things that we could do on our website, and obviously these foundation pieces are important, but then there's also that tweaks that we can do off our website. So that sounds like that's the beginning of one of them.
Yes. So, I mean, obviously, once you've got a technically sound site, the next thing to do is to look at keywords. What are people typing into Google to find products and services that you offer? And then using those keywords in the page and in your content. And that's SEO copywriting, SEO optimization. Once you've optimized your site, you've sped it up, it's technically sound, you've got great engaging content that contains the words that people are using, well, then you're kind of done. You can't keep optimizing your site. It's kind of done. So then you move into the zone of creating fresh content, which is usually blog posts or videos, to not only bring people to your site, but to have content to share on social media and to build up authority and trust with your audience. And then also building backlinks. So you're supposed to earn backlinks, really, not build them. And that's what you're doing then is you're bringing traffic to your site. But there's this notional idea that you're also passing authority. So I'm on your podcast, you're going to link to my site. A little bit of love passes from your site to my site. And so the more good quality sites you have linking to you, and I mean good quality, the more love, the more SEO juice, the more authority is going to come to your site. So yeah, once you've finished with the on-page, on-site stuff, then you're going to go off there, and everything you do is going to help your SEO. Every networking event you go to, every email you send, every podcast you appear on, it's going to make people remember who you are. And then when they next go to Google, they're not going to be typing in copywriter Sydney. They're going to be typing in Kate Toon. And that's what you want, because it's so much easier to rank for your brand name or your own name than it is to rank for what you do.
I love how you've turned that from just a technical sort of, because a lot of people when they hear of SEO get that tech shock, that technical like, oh, this sounds a bit scary, I don't know if I can get my head around this. But what you're doing in terms of breaking this down, but also talking about what we do off our website, which has that influence. I love the fact that you referred to, if you're out networking and encouraging people and meeting people, they'll come back to your site. Yeah, and things like that. So you've just created some traffic. So it's not all just the get your letters in a row, your words on the page, etc. Obviously, that's the heart of it. But I do love the way that you've extended that out into the real world as well. Gives us hope.
It does. Well, I think people think SEO is a checkbox to be ticked. It's not. SEO is for life, not just for Christmas. It's not a separate to your rest of your marketing. Everything you're already doing in your marketing is already helping with SEO. Also, it can be a little bit technical to start off with, but once you fix those bugs, you don't have to keep on fixing them. They're fixed forever. And the other thing that puts people off the most is that they think it's changing all the time. And the truth is, as much as SEO changes, it stays the same. The algorithm updates, all these changes you hear about, all they are trying to do is improve the customer experience. My site has been the same for 9 years, and every algorithm update has had no impact on my site because my site does what it's supposed to. It's not breaking any rules. It's fast. It's relevant. It's got good content. That's all Google wants from us.
That's a great way of looking at it. So, because there is a lot of fear there. We hear about, Facebook's changed its algorithm again. It's just devastated everybody. Pinterest has just changed. Instagram has just changed, and everyone gets into a bit of a flurry about it. But so it's nice to hear the reassurance that get the basics in place, do the right things, continue using the system, the approach, and you're okay.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think it's part of being a business owner that you have to keep up with things to a degree. I mean, gosh, I hate numbers. I'm not really an accounting person, and I use Xero as my software, and it's always changing. And I'm like, oh God, do I really have to learn that? But yeah, that's part of being a business owner. We have to wear so many different hats. So I do think you need to find a really solid source of truth, because the problem with Facebook and the internet is that something happens and there's 72 different opinions, 72 different people saying, oh, you need to do this, or my hairdresser's aunt told me that if I don't do that. And it's like, who do you listen to? Who do you believe? And just stick to that couple of people that you really trust and that you feel you respect, and then don't listen to all the noise. Just focus on what you need to focus on.
It's that voice in the crowd that I guess gets into your ears and makes and does create that trust. And I totally agree. When we try and follow 20 different opinions, we end up getting confused. You've got to be discerning and make those sort of choices.
You do. And I mean, everything I teach on all my courses, I'm completely transparent about it, is findable on the internet. Google pretty much tells us what we need to do. A little bit of it is experimentation. So people like me, SEO consultants, will try stuff out and we'll be teaching that. But it's not necessarily about the information that's being taught. It's knowing that someone else has read the 72 articles, compared them, contrasted them, tested it out, and they are giving you their proven methodology and also a process and also the support to be able to go to someone and say, I read this, is it true? And have someone you trust say, nah, you don't need to worry about that. And that's kind of what my mission is. That's why I have a big group on Facebook called the I Love SEO Facebook group. And most of the time in there, I spend just busting myths and telling people, nope, I know you were told that. It's not true. It's just nonsense.
True. Yeah. That's great, being that voice in the crowd that we can listen to and feel safe, I guess, is part of that job for sure. Okay, would you mind if we drilled down on a particular activity? I know a lot of the people who are listening, they're probably one of the key ways in which they get their thoughts out. They pursue that thought leadership and wanting to share what they understand, what they know, resources, etc., is through blogging. I mean, I'm an occasional writer. I tend to podcast more than I write these days because I kind of like having conversations with people. But I can certainly optimize a podcast page. But let's talk about a blog. So here I am thinking I want to write about X, whatever that topic may be. Let's say that it's helping people become more confident. Now, what can I do? Can you give us some guidance about how I would go about creating and optimizing that post so that it increases that chances of getting my visibility higher for the right people? Could you just walk us through sort of the steps that you would take?
Yes, although I'm going to challenge this whole line of questioning in a minute. So
yes, please.
I will come back to it. So what you would try and do, what's really working well online at the moment is to pose a question. So there's something now in the search engine results pages, which you've probably seen, which are featured answers. So when you get a little boxed answer at the top, sometimes it looks like a list. If it's a recipe, sometimes it's the full recipe. Sometimes it's just a question with the answer underneath it. It's called featured snippets. And those tend to be triggered when you have content that answers a particular question. So as you said, how do I become more confident? So if you can try and write a blog post where that's literally the title of the blog post, how do I become more confident? That's the URL of the blog post. And then in the blog post, you try and answer that question quite quickly, like in about 50 words, because that's pretty much how big those featured snippets are at the top of the search results. Then you go on to answer that question in more full, glorious detail. So, and you use subheaders and you break it up into nice little digestible paragraphs, no big clumps of copy, please. You use images to make it more interesting, maybe some funny little animated GIFs or memes. You have a nice call to action at the end that kind of says, but, if you aren't sure that these confidence tips are going to help for you, why not book a consultation with me? You get 10% off, blah, 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 blah. So, you make sure that content is super helpful. You give away your secrets. Don't be frightened of giving away your secrets. I tell people everything that I do, how to do SEO, but some people don't want to do it themselves. Some people still just want to pay someone else to do it for them. So don't be afraid of giving away some secrets. Make it really visually engaging on the page. Don't worry too much about your keyword focus. If you're really clear what the end goal of your article is, you're probably going to be using the keywords sufficiently anyway. You don't need to be thinking about, do I need to use this keyword? 17.2%. Google hasn't worked like that. It never really did, but it really hasn't been like that for a long while. Google is looking for rich, engaging content that has lots of synonyms and interesting words and just makes people want to keep reading. That's what it wants.
So it sounds very much the underlining message here as well. So we've moved way past the creating content for content's sake. I must update my website every week because that sends a signal to Google.
Wants it. Yeah, it's actually a complete myth again. Google doesn't reward the most regular content, the most consistent content. It doesn't even reward the newest content. Sometimes you kind of see a tiny little spike, you go up a little bit in the rankings, but then you slip down again. What Google rewards is the best content. So that sometimes when you search, you see a post and it's from 2014. It's not the latest post. It's not from someone who posts every week. It's from somebody who posts maybe once every 6 months, but Google deems it to be the best content because it's long, it's rich, it answers customers' problems. So I would rather you wrote 1,000 word comprehensive, super useful blog post a month than did 4 600 word flimsy, why did I bother writing this blog post?
It's the same as everything else that can be found online.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Does it need to be written? And that's why I wanted to challenge your thinking on this
Yes,
one.
please.
Because honestly, I think if you're coming into the game now and trying to rank your site and using blog posts, you've got a long way to go. There are sites out there that already have, like I think my copywriting site, I have something like 350 blog posts on there. So there's a new copywriter coming out. How can they compete with that? It's going to take them years to build up that volume of work. So if you want to cut to the chase, build up awareness, authority, relevance, SEO quickly, start making videos. Start doing Facebook Lives. Start making just little videos using your phone, using maybe IGTV on Instagram. Download those videos. Get them transcribed using something like rev.com. It's $1 a minute. Then get that video, put it onto YouTube. YouTube's the second biggest search engine in the world. Very popular. Take that video from YouTube, embed it on your website with the transcript, and now you pretty much have a blog. You've got a video, you've got all the words, all the copy that Google loves, but then you could also natively upload that video into LinkedIn, and you can actually upload it back into Facebook, edited and all cleaned up. So I think video and podcasting is also great, but there's obviously a little bit more of a learning curve with podcasting. But video is the way forward. People want to see your face. They want to see who's behind the business. They want to hear your voice. So much more compelling. I know I'm a writer, but it is true. So much more compelling than the written word.
I have a huge belief in the power of video, and I know that some people pull back from video because of this fear that they won't get it right, or they won't look right, or maybe they won't have their patter down proper, or whatever those fears are. And what I've certainly found and also seen in the research that I've done is that imperfect trumps perfect every time. Real trumps perfect. Authentic trumps perfect. Except it goes on and on and on. Don't try and get it perfect. Just damn well turn the camera on.
Yeah, and stop saying Trump as well. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I mean, look, the great thing about when you start out doing Facebook Lives and videos is no one's watching. Like, it's just like your mum and your dog. And the other thing is, if it doesn't go well, you just delete it. Just don't care. Just practice on your own page, first of all, or just practice doing them to camera using your webcam. I find, I have made many videos and I've made many fluff ups, and I do get a lot of trolls for various other things. Never had anyone be critical of one of my videos. And I'm really not joking when I say that. I think, buy yourself a cheap ring light off eBay. It makes you look attractive. They're only $100. Look at the black dot rather than looking at yourself, and just start. Answer one simple question that you feel really confident about, like how to be more confident. I'm going to give you my top 2 tips. It's a 3-minute video. It doesn't need to be War and Peace. Make a 3-minute video. Do your best. The next time you do it, you're going to be better and better and better and better. And honestly, it's so powerful. People love it.
So from getting to know you, seeing the face behind the business, letting people feel into your character and your style, which they can then, it resonates with them or it doesn't. Either way is absolutely fine. So all of that makes perfect sense in terms of helping you build your personal brand and profile. Does Google love videos? That seems like a question that I know would be on people's lips, because we've been told, there's a cliche in a sentence, that Facebook loves video and is promoting video and giving you more views on video. How does it work with Google?
Yeah, Google loves it too. As I mentioned, YouTube is considered the second biggest search engine. And obviously now YouTube videos are pulled into the blended results. It used to be if you wanted to watch videos, you had to go to the video tab. But you'll notice now that certain keyword searches will trigger videos. So say, for example, how to boil an egg. You'll get a featured snippet, like I mentioned, with a little recipe. You'll get maybe some blog posts, these type things, but you're most likely going to get videos. Because really, if I want to boil an egg, do I want to read a 300-word article, or do I just want to watch a 1-minute video showing someone boiling an egg? So yes, Google loves videos. LinkedIn loves video. Instagram loves video. Facebook loves video. Everybody loves the video. But most importantly, who loves video the most? Your customers. So, who cares what Google likes to a degree? You're going to do what I said. You're going to get it transcribed. So you're going to get those words. We all know that Google likes words the most, or we think. So you're going to get that value too. But it's just a connection. You'll know from having a podcast how much of a relationship it builds with people, how much trust it builds with people. Well, video does the same, flaws and all. And honestly, as you know from reading my book, I'm all about showing the flaws rather than trying to be this perfect being of business. Because no one's perfect, and it makes you more relatable, and people want to buy from people, and they want to buy from people they like and they trust. So.
Absolutely. We don't build that relationship with someone that's preaching at us from a mountaintop.
Yes.
We want someone that it's down. I say that we teach from the trenches. I'm down there. I'm with you. I get it. I've been there.
I've been there. That's it. You want to recognize yourself in a way. Like if I'm going to buy a DIY SEO course from me, you want to see that I worked my way up and I struggled and here's what I did. You don't want me to be some omnipotent being with a $300,000 budget because, well, then of course I managed to have SEO success. I need to be one of you for my products to be relatable and real.
May I ask one more question about video there? Because it's, again, if the question's in my head, then I'm not the only one with it. I've heard about we must have captions. Like everything must be running along the bottom of the video because so many people listen to video without any sound. What's your experience or opinion of that?
I think it's 100% true. Do I do it all the time? No, because I can't be bothered. So one little trick there is, you can upload your 3-minute video again to Rev, and they will actually export something called an SRT file, which is a time-stamped transcription. And then when you put it onto Facebook, you actually upload the video and then you upload the SRT file, and Facebook glues them together, and you get the opportunity to edit the subtitles while you're watching the video. So it's great for Facebook because I do. Obviously, a lot of people are watching videos on Facebook when they shouldn't be. They're at work or they're on their phone. So yes, it definitely does help. Do I always do it? No, because I don't have the time. It's one of those things. It's
optional. Yeah, it's optional. And I love what you're saying there, Kate, because there's this absolute, if I be maybe so bold, rejection of perfection.
Yes.
We don't need to get it perfectly done. We just need to get it done. We just need to get it done.
I have limited time. I only work in school hours. I don't have a big team. There's so much more. Your business can eat your life. There's always more that you could be doing. Oh, you've cracked Instagram, but how are you doing on Twitter? Oh, you put something on LinkedIn, but did you put it on Facebook? Oh my God. It's just exhausting. So you can only do what you can do. And as I said, I'd rather have 3 kind of slightly badly lit videos where the content is really interesting and great and I didn't do subtitles than wait around until I managed to get subtitles sorted out.
I totally agree. And it's funny, actually, just yesterday, I put up a wee blog post. I was writing a newsletter and then I went this is actually turning into a really long newsletter. I think I need to go put it on my website instead. And it was all about what's the role that your business plays in your life. And that role then dictates, it actually helps you get out of the guilt and it helps you get out of the, I should be, I must be, I'm watching that and I should be as prolific as that. Well, not necessarily. You've got to make that decision as to what role it is playing in your life and what sort of attention and time you've got to spend on it and be very realistic from there. Otherwise, absolutely, you can get eaten alive by your business and feel like crap.
Well, I think that it's so funny that you say that because I'm so at that point at the moment where I've spent really, the last 4 years really working very hard on my business and, having a lot of success and making a lot of money. But I've got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be able to paddleboard, pivot while I'm in motion. I want to be able to walk my dog and not think I've got to rush back to the office because I've got this at 9 o'clock. I want to be able to finish at the end of the day and feel like I've finished, rather than having to go back on the computer 2 hours later to just do that one last thing. So I'm really trying to move my business into somewhere where actually my business serves my life. Because recently I've just been, I've been the creature of my business. I've been at its beck and call and I'm done with it. I'm done with it, I tell you.
I so agree. One of my philosophies is that your business needs to serve you just as much as it serves your clients. That's absolutely 100% for that. I've looked burnout straight in the eye back in the days when I had a marketing agency of my own.
Yes.
And I was bosom buddies with burnout, as I say, and I'm not going there again. That friendship is over.
I love that. Bosom buddies with burnout. I'm going to steal that one. That's going to be my meme.
Go for it. It was a toxic relationship, and that's what came out the other side.
I love that.
Okay, this has been a fabulous conversation. It's been as far-reaching as I anticipated. That it's not all about those technical pieces. I love how we've talked about the foundations that we can put in place, but that the person behind the business is what this is really all about. We are not slaves to Google. Google is one of the mechanisms through which we connect and communicate with our audience. It's an important one, without a doubt, and there's certain things you need to do to keep the friendship intact, but it doesn't need to rule you. It doesn't need to eat you alive, as you were saying.
Yeah, I think that's lovely. Google is your friend.
Yes.
We all love Google when we're consumers. We just don't like it quite so much as business owners. But really, once you get to know Google, you will fall in love with it, because it can really make your business just utterly blossom if you just invest a bit of time. It's like any relationship. You've got to give a little to get a little.
Yes, you do. There needs to be reciprocity, without a doubt.
Exactly.
Well, shall we say that the next step for someone to take who is listening to our conversation and they do want to delve, now they're feeling a bit more confident that Google will not eat them alive and they don't need a degree to understand this SEO stuff, you have a wee course that people can take as sort of a stepping stone to going deeper into the world of Google and SEO. Could you tell us a little about that and where we find it?
So yes, I invented a course. It's a three module course with videos and worksheets, and it's called SEO Nibbles. So you just Google SEO Nibbles, you should find it. Very foolish branding, because after you said the word SEO Nibbles 17 times, you tend to slip into saying SEO Nipples, which is both fabulous and terrible. So yes, that's kind of the start. It give you the big picture, lots of the things we've talked about today. And then there's the next level is a paid course, an affordable course, which is called the 10-day SEO Challenge. And then I also have a group, as I mentioned, on Facebook called the I Love SEO Facebook group, where I share tips and ideas and do demonstrations pretty much every day of the week. So, that it's a great way to just dip your toe in and kind of see if this is something that you actually could do yourself. Of course, we can always pay people to do stuff. I have an accountant. I don't want to learn about accountancy, but I do think it's important that I know just enough to understand what my accountant's doing, so that, I can ask the right questions.
That's a philosophy that I embrace, absolutely. I don't need to be an expert, but I need to have a working knowledge for sure.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, I'll make sure I pop all of those links into the show notes so that people can come in and find you and fall under the umbrella, hear your voice in the crowd that they can know, like, and trust. Yes. So we'll make sure that those are in there. So, Kate, look, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed it as much as the information and the insights that you're providing. It's also the flair with which you provide it, which is really, really appealing. So I loved spending time with you.
Thank you. I think it's always really lovely to meet a like-minded beast on the internet and make a connection. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be on your podcast.
You are most welcome, you beast you. And for you, my lovely listener, thank you so much for tuning in and taking the time to listen to this conversation today. As Kate said, there is so many things that you need to do in your business and you've only got so much time. So I really appreciate the time that you've invested with us today. And I hope you've realized that in terms of visibility, this is one tool that's in your visibility toolkit that you can start to play with. Go and try the SEO Nibbles course if it's something that you're really wanting to, not to master, as we've heard, but to get your head around so that you can have that connection with those clients that you were here to serve, so you can get your message out so that you can make a difference with your next chapter business. So thanks again for the time. Have a lovely day, and I'll talk with you again very soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Your Next Chapter podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know. Pop over to angelaraspas.com to subscribe to the show and leave a review. And whilst you're there, you can also enjoy valuable free resources, including show notes and downloads, along with the Next Chapter community, where you can connect with other wholehearted women on the same journey as you. We'd love to welcome and support you as your next chapter unfolds. See you next time.